What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery. Welcome back to my public YouTube channel. What exactly are we going to be speaking about in today's video? You probably get the general understanding from the title of the video. So I'm going to be going into, is it possible to have a relationship with an entity or with a spirit? There are many people that I've seen, in different types of spiritual communities, on different platforms that talk about spirituality, specifically people that work with entities. I've seen many of these individuals say things along the lines of, oh, this entity is sexually into me, or this entity is wanting to be in a relationship with me. Okay, and I remember the first times I heard individuals speak on these types of things, and I used to think that that is very, in my mind at the time, it seemed very immature, and it seemed like something that didn't really make too much sense to me. And yes, there absolutely is a very immature and nonsensical aspect to this exact topic at hand. And that is what I'm going to be shedding a lot of light on within today's video, and also sharing some deeper perspectives that maybe you as a listener have not yet taken into account. So if you want to know if it's possible to actually have a relationship with a spirit, then in this video, that's exactly what I'm going to be covering. So you have one thing to do, and that is to stay tuned. All right, let me first start with introducing myself, just in case you do not know who I am. My name is Jeremiah Schwartz. I am a professional occultist. I am fully initiated in the entirety of the Kabbalistic tree. I'm studied when it comes to the 22 major arcana of the tarot deck, and I'm also studied when it comes to planetary energies in direct association with astrology. Now, let's move into it. So, what exactly are we going to be talking about specifically with this subject at hand? So as I said from the intro of the video, I've seen many individuals, many people say things along the lines of they've been in relationships with entities, or they're currently in a relationship with a specific type of spirit. And as I said, when I first used to hear this, I used to think that this was not something that was real. I used to think it was something that the person really sort of allowed their imagination to take over to the point where it wasn't even based in reality. And now, as I've grown as an occultist, as I've evolved with my perspectives and my understandings, I can actually see how there could be some connections to an entity potentially having a relationship with another person. But that also doesn't discard the idea that there are a lot of immature individuals running around within the spiritual community thinking that they are in relationships with entities when they're actually not. Okay? And I will be honest with you, most of the times, and this has nothing to do with, men or women, but most of the times I see that it's women that tend to think they are in relationships with male entities. Okay. I just, like, in my memory bank, I think of this one girl who was like, oh yeah, me and Lucifer are in a relationship. Lucifer is into me and we're in a spiritual relationship. So that's like the first thing that comes to my mind. And this is what I've seen most often. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's also men out there that think they're in relationships with other entities as well. I know it goes both ways. But once again, this is just what I've personally observed. Now, with that being said, let's start here. Is it it possible to actually have a relationship with an entity? Yes, it is possible to have a relationship with an entity, even though the way that we look at the word relationship is very different than how relationships might be perceived in a higher density. Okay. So for example, like on our planet, relationships can be very emotional. Okay. Now in a higher density where the awareness is much larger and there is no physical body or ego, there is a lot less emotion, personal emotion involved. Okay. There's more of a knowing and more of a present moment knowing, so to speak. All right. So with that being said, now, how is it possible that someone can have a relationship with an entity? Okay. Well, we first have to know that these entities, for the most part, that we are connecting with as the humans or as the occultists or whatever you are, these entities are social memory complexes. Okay, this is something that I've discussed multiple times on my channel. If you want to know more about it, search up Universal Mastery, Social Memory Complex, and you'll get a great understanding of what this means. But most of you listening right now should already understand the idea of what a social memory complex is. And for those of you that don't, it's a group soul. Okay, so what this means is that this is a group of aliens, a group of beings that are not necessarily human, that comprise as a whole to share one mind and thoughts and intentions. Therefore, they are a group soul. They are a social memory complex. Now, although there are many different entities within the complex, because they all share the same mind and the same thoughts, one of those entities within the complex could potentially speak for the entire complex itself. So what that means is that when we take a look at entities that we work with as the humans or as the occultists, we are oftentimes, not all the times, but we are oftentimes connecting to social memory complexes. So most of the archangels, most of the archdemons, the Ars Goetia, the angelics, a lot of these beings, most of these beings are social memory complexes existing on different planetary spheres and different stars, planets we don't even know about. All right. So with that being said, now that we have the understanding that there could be millions of entities comprising of a single soul, a single group soul, it could make sense that someone who is already connected to one of those social memory complexes, so for example, there's a human on Earth that is incarnate doing what is called wandering, meaning they're traveling backwards from time, space, and coming into incarnation, space, time on Earth. So that means that they were in a higher density and they chose to come backwards into a lower density for a specific evolutionary purpose, some sort of polarization purpose for the soul. So this person went from a higher density to a lower density, now is on Earth. And potentially when that person was in that higher density, they may have had a strong energetic tie or something that we may refer to as a relationship. That entity could have been in a relationship with another entity or another being that comprised of that same social memory complex that it existed within. So now that that one specific soul who was in a relationship with another entity decided to wander backwards in time, space, and incarnate on our planet in a lower density, there is still going to be that energetic resonance or that energetic tie from the being that traveled backwards and the other partner that still exists potentially in that same complex or that higher density. Okay? So when this is the case, the person that is physically incarnate is going to be influenced by that specific complex where their partner or where their relationship was rooted in. So let me give you a little bit of an example of what I mean. Let's say hypothetically you're a part of the social memory complex of Lucifer. And there's a bunch of beings that exist within this complex. And let's say you've been a part of this complex for quite a long time, and you have a relationship with another entity that is also in that same complex. And then you, as the individual soul that you are, decide to travel backwards to Earth to do some sort of spiritual evolution, and you incarnate as a human being. Now, obviously, when you incarnate as a human, your consciousness gets wiped. So now you're a human being. You're going through this evolutionary journey of re-remembering. And later, at some point along your journey, you realize you are spiritual. You realize you are connected to the all, and you also start to connect with different entities and spirits, complexes, group souls. So there's one specific group soul that you feel drawn towards the most. There's one specific entity that you feel really pulls your attention. It just pulls you in. Well, that is often a telltale sign that you are probably a part of that group soul, or you are a part of that complex. In this scenario, that's a sign that you could be a part of that complex since you've already traveled backwards, since you were a wanderer. So what that means is that if that entity that was your partner within that same complex of Lucifer, not if that entity, but that entity that is your partner within that same complex of Lucifer, that entity is going to specifically be guiding you. Okay, it's going to have a lot of interest in your evolution because obviously you were intimate with that being. You were intimate with that spirit, or that specific soul within the complex, I should say. So the person who is in a relationship with the other entity within that complex may perceive on the physical plane as a human being, oh, Lucifer in this case is interested in me, or Lucifer, takes interest in having a relationship with me. So hopefully you can kind of see what I'm saying here, because this is a little bit tricky to understand. It's a little bit nuanced. So the person that's now a human being, they are re-remembering that they have a partner that exists in a higher density within that group soul of Lucifer. And the way that the human is perceiving this is that Lucifer wants to be in a relationship with me. And that could potentially take place, meaning that entity that is your partner is actually speaking to you through the group soul of Lucifer and is telling you things like, hey, we are actually in a relationship together, or we are actually working together in a relationship type of way, and I'm here to guide you. Like, I'm one of your primary guides to help you get what it is that you came to get from incarnating back on planet Earth. So in that sense, yes, having a relationship with an entity is possible. It can happen, okay? But we also want to make sure that we're not taking this out of context, and we're not looking at this from an immature lens where we think we are the only person on Earth who has this weird relationship dynamic with a being that we think is a single being in the universe. So a lot of people, when they perceive these entities, these demons and these angels, they think that these are like, and look, I used to be the same way. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like you're crazy for having this belief or thinking this way. I used to do the same thing. But I knew it went deeper. I just didn't understand it. But a lot of people think that these entities are just single beings. Like it's like there's one Lucifer that exists out in our universe, and Lucifer does what Lucifer wants to do. Like one Lucifer, and then there's one Hecate, and then there's one Lilith, and these are all single entities that cohabit with each other and work with each other, and then they show up at different locations at different times. But remember, to dispel that, they're not single entities. These are group souls. These are group minds comprising of a single force. Okay? So there are many different entities that can communicate as the Lucifer or as the Lilith or as the Hecate. All right. So there's some people that are in the spiritual community that are just sort of on their high horse and they think they're special, more special than anyone else. And they think that they're in a relationship with the one and only Lucifer, and that Lucifer cares about them more than anybody else on the planets because Lucifer is communicating that they are in a relationship together. And this is where it gets, as I said, very immature. And this is where you start to leave reality and you start to enter into something that is more so based on fantasy. And as I say this, I mean, you know, what I've observed is that this usually happens to women, and women tend to have a little bit more of a fantasy of these types of archetypal situations with relationships. And that's obviously a part of our multiverse, a part of our society. You know, the whole concept of Twilight, the whole concept of romance and things in that nature, that's something that women have a strong affinity for. So there are some women that take that idea and they apply it to the spirit realm, and they think that they are the only ones that are intimate with a specific type of spirit. And once again, this is, you know, this may be a part of someone's learning process and there's no judgment behind it, but in reality, they are not the only one that is or could be in a relationship with an entity, and that entity that they're in a relationship is much more nuanced and much more complex than what they probably even understand. And that just ties it back to the social memory complex principle, okay? So this is really what I wanted to discuss in this today's video so that you as the listener can understand this, okay? So that when you come across someone who talks about, you know, I'm in a relationship with this spirit or I'm in a relationship with this entity, most of the times it's something that is based on fantasy. Most of the times the person really doesn't know what they're speaking about. Okay, they're just sort of reaching in the dark, hoping they're special. That's most of the times. And once again, that's because as human beings, we have strong egos. So it's easy to identify with the ego. It's easy to identify with the artificial sense of self-importance. All right. And that can really take you into the deep end. It can take you into certain perspectives that are not based in reality. Now, obviously, you have the freedom to have those perspectives. You have the freedom to live your life in that way. That's the beauty of free will. That's the beauty of life itself. But you're not going to get real results, evolutionarily speaking, if you're not balanced between your imagination and reality. That's why we incarnate on a physical planet here. Okay? So with that being said, once again, I think that this pretty much sums it up. I think this will help give clarity to a lot of you who have come across this before or have seen it or maybe have thought this within yourself. All right? So with that being said, if this was a topic that you found interesting, then definitely come down here and hit the thumbs up button. Also, feel free to drop down in the comment section and let me know if you enjoyed this video. Also, come down here and hit the notification bell because I post videos as often as I can. And with content like this, you clearly don't want to be missing out. Also, come down here and hit the subscribe button if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, because by subscribing, you are further linking into the content. And what that means is you're getting more energetic value from what it is that I'm teaching by simply just subscribing. It's that simple. All right. And if you don't want to tap into that, by all means, forget about it. Now, I want to say you have my full permission to copy and paste this link and send it out to anybody. Family, friends, social media platforms, you name it. You have my full permission. Copy and paste it, send it outwards. My intention is to spread my content like a wildfire. And that's exactly what has been taking place. So let's continue to do it. Now I'm going to take your awareness to literally the most important link within the entirety of the YouTube description itself. This is the first link at the very top. You cannot miss it. This is where you can join my Patreon, okay? On my Patreon, I have an entire vault of exclusive occult content. None of this content is on my public YouTube channel, and that is for many intentional reasons, okay? At this point, it's like a secondary YouTube channel, except everything on there is more advanced and more personal than what you're getting on my public channel, all right? As you move into tier number 2, you're gaining access to an entire magic training course, which I feel like would be extremely valuable, especially if you're a beginner occultist and you're looking for a structured format to follow to start developing your psychic capabilities. Now, as you move into tier 3, this is literally the most popular tier of the Patreon, and that alone speaks for itself. This is what's known as the Universe.B Vampire Service. So what this is this is a service that I perform on the 29th of every single month that has one, and is designed to completely change your energetic structure to be more so Universe.B dominant. What that means is more so negatively polarized, service to self-oriented. What this does is this allows you to exist within the darker energy areas and locations of the multiverse itself without inherently getting harmed by them, but rather by developing knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and potential power from them instead. This also gives these individuals a psychic capability to pull in energy from dark energy and chaos within the environment around them to transmute into their own power and evolutionary potential. And it gives them a ability to be more so receptive to the unconscious, subconscious mind, which is also feminine in nature. If this is something you want to take advantage of, once again, this is all tier number 3 of the Patreon. Check it out. Then as you move into tier number 4, this is the new top tier of the Patreon. This gives you access to everything from the previous tiers, but you also get exclusive content, specifically what is called psychic predictions on a monthly basis. So what I do is I pull a specific tarot card and I pull a specific oracle card from my personally made deck, and it's designed to help you navigate the energies going into every single new month. So every month, based on the different cycles of astrology, based on your own energetic makeup intertwining with that, there are certain types of, let's call it, initiations that everyone goes through. And obviously, some people are receptive to those initiations and grow and transform from them, and other people are very unaware of these types of initiatory forces or experiences. So the reading is designed to help you better navigate and understand the types of archetypal experiences that are going to be coming into every single month, okay? And I base it on your personal zodiac sign, so it's tweaked for you specifically. If this is something that you want to take advantage of, once again, all of this is within the Patreon, first link at the top, and that would be tier number 4. We'll leave it there. With that being said, I want to give a special shout out to all of the Patreon members specifically for taking your knowledge, your practices, and your studies to that other side. Big shout out to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as we move into the second link below, this is where you can book a very unique tarot card reading from me that I promise you have never received before. The reason why is because I understand the Kabbalistic tree way more than the average person does. So what I can do is I can pinpoint exactly where you are on that tree. I can tell you what you're feeling, experiencing, and going through in the present moment, and then what to expect moving into your near and your long-term future based on your positioning on that Kabbalistic tree itself. I've done well over 1,000 readings. I do a reading every single day. I receive tons of valuable feedback. If this is something you want to take advantage of, second link below. Now, also within that same second link below, there is an option to book a one-on-one call with me. So if you're someone who's been studying for my content or other types of occult information, and you want to conversate with somebody like me and hear a little bit about my perspective on what it is that you're potentially going through, then this would be an amazing option. Now, if you're someone who's taking your practice to that deeper degree, I have mentorship options. I have a 6-week mentorship as well as a 3-month mentorship. Now, this is amazing for individuals who are getting into occult initiation. It's a very initiatory type of experience, and I get to generally be able to act as a guide for you as you navigate and as you go through that experience. So once again, if that's something that you're interested in, definitely check it out. All right, all of this is within that second link below, all the different services if you want to read more about them. Now, as we move into the third link below, you can't miss it. This is where you can become a YouTube member. As you become a YouTube member, you're getting access to many different types of benefits, but most importantly, you're getting access to what is called the Psychic Warfare Emoji Program. So what this is this is a sequence of emojis that I've designed myself that are based on real occult principles, and you can use them in a specific configuration, link in the name of a target, hit enter, and it will actually cause psychic effects to that target of your choice. This is the most simple form of utilizing psychic warfare through the internet platform. And there are well over 2,000 posts where people have already used it. And there are people right now in this moment who are taking advantage of it. So if this is something you want to take advantage of for yourself, you can definitely do so. Third link below, you click it, and then at the top you join, become a YouTube member, and then you have access. All right? So we'll leave it there. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate all of you very, very, very much. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of the day or night, wherever you are. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.